Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in our last video, we discussed how to create duplicated game objects, right? And then we also discussed what is child game object and how to assign the child game object to the parent game object. And then lastly, we also discussed how to create prefabs from the game objects. So whenever you see these blue texts in the hierarchy window, so that means you can understand that these are the prefabs, right? So in this video, we will understand what is rigid body in Unity game engine, and then how the rigid bodies interact with other game objects in Unity game engine. Okay, so let's get started. So what is rigid body? Rigid body in Unity is a component that allows a game object to be affected by physics forces such as gravity, collisions, and other physics-based interactions. So what do I mean by that? So let's create a 3D object called a sphere and then reset it so that it shows up in the center of our scene, and then make it 0 0.5, 0 0.5, 0 0.5 so that the scale of it is a little bit smaller. Okay, put it like somewhere over here. Okay, and then if the sphere is floating in the air in real world, what will you expect? So in real world, if you just simply float a ball in the air, you expect that the ball will fall down because of gravity, right? This is like normal thing. If you just throw a ball in the air upwards, at some point of time it will fall down, right? But right now the sphere has a position, has a scale, has a rotation value. It also has a mesh renderer, so that means that's why we see the mesh around the sphere and we can see the color and all those stuff. But still it does not fall down. Even though we play the game, it just stays over there. Why? That is the main question. Why, right? Because this game object, this sphere, does not have any mass, and that's why there is no gravity assigned to the game object. None of this cube has any sort of mass. They have position, scale, rotation, they have materials, okay, but none of them has mass along with them. So in order to give a mass, we need rigid body. So we go select the sphere, we go to add component and then type rigid body, and then there is rigid body and rigid body 2D. So rigid body 2D is for 2D game object, but because we are working with 3D game objects, we need to add the rigid body component. And then once you add the rigid body component, then you can see the first option is mass, okay, and mass is called 1. So in Unity, everything is like metric system. So the distances are in meters. So position means 2.76 meter, 3.38 meter, scale is 0.5 meter, 0.5 meter, 0.5 meter, whereas mass is in kg. So 1 means this sphere right now have a 1 kg of mass. If you want to change it to 10, so that means the sphere will have 10 kgs of mass. Okay, so let's go back to 1. So that means the sphere will have 1 kg, and then there are some other options like drag, angular drag, and now you can understand like these are all the physics properties, the center of mass, tensor, and all those stuff. One of the important thing is that you see this use gravity option. So by default, whenever you add a rigid body component with a game object, you can definitely play with the mass, but gravity will be turned on by default. Now let's see how it looks like. And as you can see, when I play the game, it fell down as you expected in real world. Okay, so it started from here, and because of the gravity, it fell down. Okay, now if I just put it a little bit forward, kind of like that, let's play the game. As you can see that it fell down, and then there it detected this corner, and then it again fell down on the ground. Okay, how can it detect the corner, and then how can it detect the ground? Okay, that is one important question, because this is computer, so that means some calculations are going on, right? So let's dive deep into it. If you select sphere, before adding rigid body, there is also another component called collider, sphere collider. Okay, this collider will be added to any of the cube or cylinder or capsule that you create in the scene. So if you just go to 3D object, whatever objects you will create over here, by default Unity will provide some colliders. So if you go to cube, you see a box collider. If you create a capsule, you will see a capsule collider. If you go and create a cylinder, you will see a cylinder collider or capsule collider, whatever. Okay, so what are these colliders? Okay, let's see that. So click on sphere, and then if you turn off the mesh renderer of the sphere, so that means you do not want to see the material, then you can see this green thing, this green circle that is surrounding the sphere. Okay, this is the collider. Similarly, we want to detect the corner of this cube, right? So this cube is this one, and then if I turn off the mesh renderer, you will see the box collider. Okay, these are the important things that is detecting the collisions. So when the sphere is falling down, it detected that there was a collider. Okay, and that's how it understands that there is a collision, and then it understands that there is vacuum over here, and so that's why it fell down. Now you can tell me if there is a collider attached to the ground or not. Let's see. Absolutely yes. So the ground has a collider called mesh collider. So this is a little bit different collider. Okay, so this mesh collider is detecting the mesh. So the plane has lot of meshes around it. So if I turn off the mesh renderer, you see a little bit different type of mesh over there. So the plane has lots of like these triangles and all those stuff. Okay, so the mesh collider basically detects all the triangles and add colliders onto each triangle. So whenever you download any sort of game object which are not part of these basic game objects of Unity, so which are the basic game objects? The cube, sphere, capsule, cylinder. These four are the basic game objects. Okay, so if you download any game object which are not part of these four game objects, most of the time they are not. So they are created from different mesh. So then you need to add the mesh collider onto the asset or onto the game objects, so that there will be collider associated with the game objects. Okay, so now as you can understand that whenever the collider of the rigid body detects another collider, then it can simulate the physics system. Okay, so now I want to show you there are two different type of colliders. Okay, so let's see the treasure chest. So as you saw earlier, that when the sphere hit the corner of this collider, it detected the collision properly as you expected, and then it see there is a vacuum over here, and then it fell down on the ground, right? But if I click on the cube collider over here, the box collider, there is an option called is trigger. Let's turn that on and then save the scene, and then let's see what happens. As you can see, even though there is a collider, but the sphere didn't detect the collision. Why? Okay, so what is trigger collider? A trigger collider is kind of like a special type of collider which does not interact with the physics properly, but it is a very important type of collider. Why? Because even though it does not directly interact with the physics system, it can still understand there is a collision going on. Okay, so for example, let's say you are playing a ghost game like Resident Evil 7 or Resident Evil Village or something like that, and then oftentimes you see that whenever you open a door, okay, you enter the door, and then let's say the opponent will rush towards you, or like some sort of cutscene will start to play. How they are doing it? So one possible way is that there is a invisible trigger collider. So let's say if I turn up the mesh renderer, you cannot see there is a object, but there is a collider, right? So whenever the avatar, let's say the sphere is the avatar, and when the avatar is like passing through the cube, even though you cannot see there is a cube, but as you can see, it did interact with the collider, and then the ghost basically in the resident table start to come towards you. Okay, that makes sense. So trigger collider is a very important collider, so that is just for triggering some event. Okay, how can we manipulate the trigger collider? We can certainly see that in our later videos when we will understand how to write codes. Okay, right now this is a initial idea about what is trigger collider and what does trigger collider do. In the later videos you can understand how to manipulate the trigger colliders through code, because these colliders will be manipulated through code. Okay, now turn this thing back on. So that means whenever it is not trigger collider, it's just a normal collider, so it will directly interact with the physics system. Lastly, I also want to show you another thing in the rigid body. So by default the use gravity is turned on, right? But sometimes what happens is like you do not want to use the gravity by default. Okay, so for example, let's say this sphere is basically lying at the corner of the cube. Okay, so right now the gravity is turned on, and then if I just simply turn on the game, you see it fell down. Okay, but maybe in the game you do not want this thing to fall down at the beginning of the game. Maybe in your game you want your player to pick this ball up, so the ball is basically like at the corner of the cliff or something, and then you want the player to quickly approach to the sphere, and then you want the player to grab the ball, right? Maybe like within a certain amount of time. If the player cannot reach to the ball within a certain amount of time, then you want this sphere to fall down. How can you do that? So in that case, you turn on the use kinematic option and turn off the use gravity option. Now let's see what happens in this case. So now as you can see, because use kinematic is turned on, so the sphere is not falling down. Even if it is like lying on the very corner of the cube, it is not falling down. Why? Because it is not interacting with the physics right now. So that's how you can allow your player to quickly approach to the sphere, and then if the player can touch the ball or pick up the ball within a given amount of time, then your game is fine. But if the player cannot reach to the game object within that time frame, then you can just simply turn on the gravity and turn off the use kinematic, and then you will see that it fell down. Okay, so in short, use kinematic means it is basically pausing the physics engine while running the game. Okay, and then you can turn on the physics of the game object through code if the use kinematic is turned on. If the use gravity is turned on, by default the physics game engine is working. If the use gravity is turned off, so that means the physics game engine is not turned on by default. So in that case the use kinematic needs to turn on. Okay, so and then some other options is that if you want to freeze the position, freeze the rotation of the game objects in certain way, you can do that. For example, what do I mean? So right now if I play the game, you see that the sphere is rotating just like a normal way, like it is rotating on any of axis, or it is moving to a certain position, right? But let's say you want to freeze the rotation on y-axis, so that means it will not rotate on the y-axis, so that means this axis, it does not rotate on this axis at all. So let's see that how does it look like. Okay, so it is not rotating on this axis, it's rotating on z and x axis only. This thing is not helpful in this particular example, but freezing position and rotation is really helpful for player, because in case of VR you do not want a player to rotate on every axis, and that can give motion sickness, right? So let's say you want to simulate a fall from a hill. Okay, so like let's say your player is on top of a hill and suddenly the player fell down from the hill. So in that case, if you just allow rotation on all axes, you will see that the camera is rotating on any direction. That can give a person very motion sickness, right? So in that case, you can just simply freeze the rotation on x and z axis, so that means like the person can only rotate on y axis, something like that. Okay, so in this video you understand what is rigid body and what are colliders, what is trigger collider, and how the rigid bodies interact with the colliders. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you in my next video. Thank you. Bye.